Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Nick Drinks. I am your host, Nick Britsky. We are back in the studio continuing our series on the Diageo Game of Thrones scotches.
And now, another episode of Game of Drinks. Episode 6.
Brought to you by Diageo. With a lighter. And joining me is Tracy Rashad Evans. Hello.
Hey man, good to see you.
Thank you for coming in. Thank you.
Bit?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you for your great work as Master Tully.
I do what I can.
It was good.
I do what I can. Yeah.
And you are the founder of Bitter Detroit.
Yes.
And you're the founder of It's Not Right.
Yeah. Two things.
Yeah.
Lots. It feels like a lot too.
We'll talk about that in a little bit.
Sure.
But first, tell me, are you a fan of Scotch?
I am a fan of Scotch,
Excellent.
and I am particularly a fan of Game of Thrones Scotch. This.
Ooh. Okay.
Yeah. This all comes at such a great time. I randomly, actually, fun Game of Thrones fact. I heard that 22 million people watch Game of Thrones. That's weird to think that 22 million people are like the same time, like just all involved.
So you think about it, that's like old school TV ratings.
Right.
And to think that so many people came together for that, and that's huge. That's big.
Huge.
Yeah.
So I feel like, like we're all part of this cool fan club.
So what did you think of the first, without giving any spoilers, what did
Sure.
you think of the premiere of season 8?
I felt like they both were very slow,
Okay.
but that's only to prepare for all of the madness that
Yeah.
is going to occur. So, but it was great. Those forming those partnerships and kind of giving people some backstories. And Arya, man, I am so glad she shot her shot, dude.
The Google results on that were just like people.
Yeah. Oh man, yeah, it was crazy.
All right, well, let's get to some scotch.
Sure.
So thank you so much, Diageo. They were the ones that supplied us all of the partner scotches to this. We did purchase all of the Game of Thrones scotches on our own, but Diageo was nice enough to provide the base spirits. We are doing Singleton, which is from the House of Tully on the Game of Thrones side, but the Singleton Glendolyn 12 is what we're going to be tasting against that. Are you a fan of this?
I will know in a few seconds.
Oh, okay, all right. So I have not had this one either.
Yeah.
So this will be interesting as well. But it is a 12-year-old age statement, which is great. We also read up a little bit on this. Up until 2007, they were just using this as a blend.
Really?
Yeah. So, and actually, there were, depending on where you picked this up, either in Asia or in Europe, it was kind of varied a little bit. But now we are looking at this 12-year-old light fruity creamy scotch. And this should be good. The distillery was actually powered with a water wheel.
Right. We were talking about that.
Yes. So hence kind of the tie to the river kingdom of House of Tully.
Yeah, which you got splashed with some water today. So.
I did, yes. And that was Tracy doing the work right there.
Sure. Cheers.
Cheers.
Yeah.
So it's boy, it doesn't smell overly sweet.
No.
I almost smell kind of like stone and brick and
A little malty. Yeah.
little malty, maybe a little spice.
Yeah, not too much spice.
Yeah. So let's see what we got.
Yeah.
Very dry, very peaty, very
I was gonna
woody.
say, man, that's super woody.
Yeah. Not quite Laphroaig,
Yeah.
but definitely there's a little bit of smoke on here.
Yeah, for sure. Man, this is actually really delicious.
Yeah. This is definitely like a cooler scotch, like something you would be drinking around a fire.
I would expect it to be a little more fruity, but it's not.
No, there's very little fruit on here. It's much more savory.
Yeah, when you smell it, it smells just a little more fruity, but then the taste isn't that bad. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Man, I might need to make a Rob Roy with this.
Ooh, so that would be your go-to for scotch?
Yeah.
I think because this is so dry, the vermouth would go really nicely with this.
Yeah, for sure.
So, that's very delicious. Boy, again, as we've tried through this whole line of Diageo scotches, they're different. They're all so different.
Really?
And this one, is going just a whole nother direction.
Okay.
On these very savory, woodsy, almost like Thanksgiving herbs and things like that.
Yeah.
So
Very delicious.
Yeah.
I approve.
good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's compare and contrast it to the Game of Thrones. Now, one of the things that we've been tasked with doing is finding out if these are the same or if these are different than kind of what you can see is available.
Yeah.
Right off the bat, because that is a kind of a bluish glass, I can't tell if the color's the same.
Colors, yeah. Yeah, the glass is definitely a little bluish, greenish.
Now, what this one does not say on it is an age statement. So by Scotch rules, it has to be at least 3 years. It does say, though, Glendoline Select, which this one does not. So maybe this is a different bottle.
Sure.
So go with that guy?
I guess we'll find out here
Yeah.
in a second.
Yep, it's different.
Oh, yeah, right away.
So now I get apple and I get fruit and...
Yeah, this one smells even more fruity than the other one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Yeah. Still that same campfire, smoky,
Peaty.
yeah. But there's apple, there's sweetness.
Yeah.
It looks like they aged these in either sherry or bourbon casks. I definitely sense some more bourbon in
Bourbon,
here.
yeah. There's definitely some weird spice in there.
Yeah, like a
Or the after.
not allspice, but maybe like a pepper, like a Szechuan pepper, maybe, or pink peppercorn.
There is some pepperiness in there.
Now, would you do a Rob Roy as well? Oh wow, that is really peppery.
Yeah. the spice, yeah.
It's funny because there's so few Scotch cocktails, at least like classic Scotch cocktails.
Yeah, sure. There's definitely some newer ones, but
Yeah.
classic Scotch cocktails. Barely only a few. Would I do a Rob Roy with that? I would attempt.
Yeah,
and
why
try.
not?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna attempt and try. But I definitely would love to see the difference between the two.
I think this could stand up to a Scotch and soda. And of course, even by itself, they're both very delicious by themselves.
Yeah, for sure.
They're both 40% ABV, so they're not overly strong from an alcohol standpoint. They're both very easy to drink. Practically no burn on either one of them.
No, not at all. Yeah, super smooth. I will definitely give 2 thumbs up.
Yeah.
On both.
That's 4 thumbs.
4 thumbs.
All right, so why don't we talk a little bit about your projects?
Sure.
So the one that I'm most excited about
course
is
you are.
Bitter Detroit.
Yeah.
So what is that going to be?
So Bitter Detroit. When you start talking about cocktails and this whole beverage industry, where are you gonna get your supplies? There really isn't a place. So that's the whole point of this, to provide people that have a unique taste when it comes to home bars, or some of your bartenders, the local bartenders. Maybe they need things for themselves or for their individual bars. We will provide those things: shakers, muddlers, bitters, tonics. We'd love to get into simple syrups, bitters of our own. Just to provide the city of Detroit with those things. I know there are some individual places on the outskirts, and I totally respect them and think they're doing great work. But I want the city of Detroit to be able to have access to those things.
I would also argue that none of the places are specifically focusing on cocktails.
None of them.
There are people that have supplies,
Right.
but it tends to be a side thing to something else.
Right, sure. And, I get that. Most places, you actually need more than one thing. It can't just be a standalone, because otherwise you're not making money like you should be. So the other side of Bitter Detroit will be a small event speakeasy type space in the back where we will have 25 to 30 seats. We'll have some bartending classes. We'll have private events. And most of all, we'll just have a lot of private fun.
Cool.
Private fun is always great.
And you talked a little bit about doing some training too in that space as well.
Yeah, sure. We'll do some training, and we'll look to have some bars, maybe kind of come in and do their own trainings, with their companies. We want to just facilitate a lot of things for, some of these really cool, amazing cocktail bars around Detroit, because there's so many. There's so many great ones. And I've been fortunate enough to go to them and meet some really, really awesome individuals who've made me some of the best cocktails I've had, and I can't wait to see what the cocktail scene in Detroit grows into and continues to grow to.
What I would love if you guys can make some comments below on some of the classes and training you'd like to see at that space. That'd be some great research for Tracy.
Yeah, sure. Would love it.
So It's Not Right. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, sure. It's Not Right. We talk about, these spaces where we're serving drinks, cocktails, and those things. And those are workspaces. Whether it's craft distilleries as far as, producing alcohol, or whether it's craft beer or coffee, or, now we're even getting into, grow and dispensaries, which are also considered, some of those categories. So these are things that are very small entities in themselves, but make up, part of a larger system of a workplace. And so there are lots of things that happen in the workplace that we don't sometimes want to bring to light, and sometimes they happen in the dark. But It's Not Right is meant to actually help individuals and businesses kind of navigate this path of those things that are going on, whether it's shortened statute of limitations, or whether it's arbitration agreements, or whether it's sexual harassment, sexual assault, any of those things. We just want to be able to help businesses and humans and individuals, and have people have a better mindset when it comes to those workplace misconduct issues. It's such a huge issue.
There was just an article written recently, and I don't have it on the tip of my tongue, but it talks about how bartending is, and serving in general, is so different from a lot of other industries because it's so much more relaxed and it's so much more intimate, that people do things that maybe they wouldn't in normal places.
Yeah.
And that could happen behind the scenes or even in front as well.
Right.
So, these are subjects that we have to talk about. They're not comfortable, and bringing some attention to it's great.
Yeah, and that's the basis of this. Starting that conversation. We threw a rally in Grand Rapids, and it turned out to be great, and it was such a great conversation between people, because there's so many times where you just don't know.
Yeah.
And just because you don't know doesn't mean, shouldn't excuse you from it. You got to have the conversation. Right. And once we start those conversations, people love talking back and forth and having that dialogue, and just actually getting a base knowledge of how these things happen or what they can do.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So tell people how they can find more about It's Not Right.
So It's Not Right is actually, we're on Facebook. Okay. You can find us on Facebook from It's Not Right. I actually just created an Instagram. It's called the It's Not Right Movement. Okay. And then you can, of course, contact me. I know a lot of people have been contacting me through my email. You can find t@gmail.com. It's amazing how many friends that have gone through situations, once they've heard of my situation, have contacted me about their own personal situation. Yeah. So I will take on that burden. Right now, I'm just the vessel. So if people want to contact me personally to talk about their issues or to help with those things, I'm more than willing to do that. So we'll have a website up soon. And stay tuned for those things.
Great. Any more information on Bitter Detroit? Can they find out more about that?
Sure. So we're creating a logo and those things now. Cool. Probably another week or two before we'll have a Squarespace website, a basis for people to kind of understand. We will be doing some pop-up shops soon, so stay tuned for those things, partnering with some really cool bars around town, some really cool shops, and just doing some really cool stuff, man. A lot of good humans doing some cool stuff, so I think that'll be a cool launch into 2019.
Appreciate it, Tracy. Thank you so much.
Nick, thank you, man.
Always a pleasure to have you out here.
Always a pleasure. Always.
If you like Nick Drinks, you can find us on youtube.com/nickdrinks, nickdrinks.com, and nickdrinks.com spelled out on Instagram and Facebook. We have, this is number 6 in our series, so we have 3 more to go.
Can't wait to see them.
Can't wait to go. We're almost there.
Sweet.
Till next time.
Yeah, for sure. Cheers.
Cheers.
Yeah, thanks, Nick.
Cheers.
Thanks, guys.